Guten Morgen, meine Damen und Herren. Einen schönen Gruß hier aus einem sonnigen Stockholm. Es ist 8:01 hier. Mein Name ist Martin Glatz. Ich bin der österreichische Wirtschaftsdelegierte für die nordischen Länder. Das sind Schweden, Finnland, Dänemark, Norwegen und Island. Wir haben auch Büros in fast allen diesen Ländern, hier in Stockholm, aber auch in Helsinki, in Copenhagen und in Oslo. I will continue now in English because our presentations today will all be in English. Our experts speak, of course, their local languages, but also excellent English. Not all of them, unfortunately, German. Let me just give you a few technical details. This is a live event. We've prepared ourselves very well and very diligently, I hope, but nevertheless, there could be hiccups. So already now I want to ask for your tolerance if something goes wrong. This webinar will be recorded. A recorded version will be made available to you afterwards. Also, the slides will be made available to you in a follow-up email. One thing which maybe makes this application a bit different from others is that you have to put your questions into the chat. So if you have any questions, please type them into the chat function of this GoToWebinar application. You will have the possibility to ask questions after each of the three parts of this webinar. And this leads me now to the next slide, which gives you an overview of the agenda. We will start with an insight into the Nordic market for smart manufacturing solutions. This insight will be provided by Linda Söder and Anna Rüding from AFRY. We have worked in the last few months on a very comprehensive report on the smart manufacturing market in the Nordics together with AFRY. AFRY will be introduced in more detail a bit later, and I'm sure that Linda will also say something about her organization. Our very own Simon Oswald will then elaborate a bit more on how to approach the Nordic market, which has, of course, its peculiarities, and also give you some information on which activities we still have planned to make your entry into this market easier. This concludes part one. Part two is a presentation by Michael Blomqvist from Combitech. Combitech is a member of the Saab group of companies. Michael will talk about the digitalization, in particular in the aviation industry. And the third part will be on flexible production in the paper in the hygienic products industry. This part will be presented by Risto Polari, who is Vice Director, Business Development at Sharp Cell, a Finnish company. So this is the agenda. As I said, please do ask questions and post them into the chat after each part, part one, part two, and part three. We will have a few minutes for questions and answers. Without much further ado, I would like now to give the floor to Linda Söder. As I said, we have been working with Linda and her colleagues over the last few months on a very comprehensive report, and extracts of the report with some additions, of course, will now be presented by Linda. Linda is assisted by Anna Rüding, who is the head of industrial digitalization at AFRY. AFRY, many of you would probably know, is one of the largest consulting, engineering consulting, management consulting companies here in the Nordics. They actually also have a presence in Austria, AFRY Austria, which is headed by Wolfgang Pospischil. So I think a worldwide footprint really, but a very, very strong one in all of the Nordic countries. Linda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you for an excellent collaboration that we've had with you at Advantage Austria. As Martin said, we have worked together with Advantage Austria to create a report on smart manufacturing in the Nordics. And we will share now some of the insights on that, from that, both common insights for Nordics as a whole, but also diving in a little bit to the differences between the Nordic countries, because even though they are small countries and often clustered together, there are also differences between the countries. Let's see. So firstly, a bit of a Nordic overview. We see that the Nordics have a strong import-export tradition with close business ties to, in particular, Netherlands and Germany. We import around 20%. It varies a little bit between the countries. Not a huge import from Austria, but around 1%. It's quite a large investment in most of the Nordic countries in R&D as a percentage of GDP. Norway is a little bit less, but it's also increasing. So R&D is really strong in all of these countries. When it comes to the sort of overall trends right now, I also, of course, have to mention that the global pandemic has had its effect, causing production to stop or get delayed. Of course, this is now starting to get a little bit better. It's also, of course, affected by the Ukraine-Russia war, where many companies have stopped their deliveries to Russia. So that also has to be mentioned. But of course, there's also positive trends. We have quite low CO2 intensity in the Nordics, and a high focus on sustainability. So that is quite prominent in the manufacturing sector. Even though I mentioned before that we have quite a lot of import-export, there's still actually a local preference. Many companies prefer local suppliers, so that's also good to be aware of. But I think that is also partly connected to sustainability and transport, and also partly cultural aspects. So, and the final thing I wanted to mention is that there's also a strong tradition of education and many universities, technical universities. So good. Let's see if I can. Yes. So I will go into the Nordic countries separately now, because they have some distinct differences. I will not stop too much for these. This is just a summary, but I will go into I will start with talking to you a little bit more about Denmark. So Denmark is the country that is closest to the continent, and they are really pioneering with their wind power development. It's one of the strongest, the richest countries in the Nordics, and they have a very high export of goods and services. And they also got ranked really good in ease of doing business. So this is quite a country that is used to doing international business. It's the easiest to do business with in the Nordics, and also the fourth globally. So it's quite approachable in that way. We also see that they have strong innovation and automation. One of the prominent companies is Odense Robotics, that you can see also has a robotic and automation cluster there in the island of Fyn in the middle. I will move on so that I think to Norway. Norway is the richest country in the Nordics, with high GDP per capita. Much of that is also stemming from their oil assets, and it's still one of the mineral fuels and mineral oils is still one of the dominating sectors. And that is the reason why the manufacturing industry has developed a little bit slower in Norway, and with less focus on digital solution. However, this is changing now. I think a lot of things are happening in Norway that strengthens the manufacturing industry, and also the focus on digital. One of the prominent players is the Raufoss Industrial Park, with a strong position in robotized and automized technologies. Moving on to the east, we have Finland. Finland has their majority of their manufacturing industry stems from the pulp and paper sector, and the sort of that legacy has fostered a lot of manufacturing companies in Finland. There is a center of the manufacturing industry in the Tampere region in the south. And you can also see here that there are a lot of business network and innovation hubs that are really driving development, especially into the smart solutions. So a lot of things are happening connected to these networks. Finally, then going into Norway. Finally, then going into Sweden, of course. Sweden is the largest of the Nordic countries. It has a strong contribution to the manufacturing industry. It deploys around 500 people, and it's actually in Sweden one of the major contributors to the GDP. In Sweden, one of the best technical universities, KJs, is located, and one of the sort of key characteristics for Sweden is the clustering of different manufacturing sectors. So you can see in the north we have the energy and manufacturing cluster. In the west we have the chemical cluster, but also the automotive cluster. So automotive is also one of the stronger sectors in Sweden. So now I presented a little bit the differences between the countries. I will go in now to some of the challenges that are sort of common that we have identified in our interviews with the different players. And some of them are more traditional challenges that you already know that are existing in manufacturing. We see that it's extremely costly to have production downtime. And there's a high focus on safety because, of course, and it's also, of course, driven by legislation. There's a continuous effort to increase efficiency. But there are also some more particular challenges that are connected to the Nordics that we connect there. One of them being logistics. This differs also a little bit between the different countries, but in particular, Sweden and Finland are difficult logistically because of their position and the size, the length of the countries. We also see that there are quite a lot of legacy systems in the companies in the Nordics and a wide range of solutions to manage data. So quite a lot of focus now on integrating systems and finding a way to utilize data. We also see that many companies focus on flexible production, that they need the new sort of society needs them to be adaptable. The tempo is increasing fast, and we also see that there's a skills shortage. So a lot of search for technical competencies. Now I'm going to go into some of the major trends. We see that connected to the fact that they need flexible production, that's also because we need reconfigurable solutions, solutions that can be adapted to new products and new models. And that's also because of the tempo, the pace that things are developing right now. We see also that we are merging the physical and the virtual. Real digital twins, for example, is a trend that is utilized a lot. That's also something that we in AFRY work with quite a lot. Integration of systems, you see that these are connected to the challenges. We try to create holistic data platforms so that we can utilize the data in the best way. What we can see is that there's quite a lot of proof of concept testing. However, that the scale up is slower, and that's also where some of the companies are sort of getting a little bit stuck. And then again, focusing on sustainability, and it's driven both by government demand. We have quite strong climate targets, for example, but also by end customers. So there are quite, as I said, a lot of proof of concepts so we found quite a lot of different use cases for smart manufacturing in the Nordics, both single companies like Ponse with their automated logistics, but also collaborations like the 5G connected screwdrivers, which was a collaboration between AFRY, Ericsson, and ABB. So there are lots of different use cases that show the innovation in the Nordic countries. And I also wanted to stop a little bit before the conclusion into the different ways of approaching or getting into the ecosystem, the Nordic ecosystem, to be sort of successful in collaborating with Swedish companies. The first thing being that you can have distribution partners, either collaborate with distributors like Solar or Ahlsell, or you can set up local offices or local agents, because this can help to collaborate, to get into the ecosystem in the Nordics. Another thing that is important is to work with system integrators like Covi, Ramboll, or us at AFRY, because we are heavily involved in putting together sort of turnkey solutions for the largest companies in the Nordics. I already mentioned that you need to collaborate with the research institutions and innovation hubs. There are a lot of focus on R&D. So if you can get into and contribute to the R&D, that's also a way into starting collaborations with Nordic companies. And the final thing are the business networks. So this is where sort of many companies gather to share ideas. And if you can get into these networks, that's also a way into the ecosystem surrounding the companies in the Nordics. So I only have one final slide left, which is sort of how to approach the market. Simon, that I will hand over to, will go into this a little bit more in detail, but the major conclusions were that you need to adapt the sales approach after the sector and products. It's not sort of one way fits all, because as you saw, there were a bit of differences between the Nordic countries. The multinationals are best approached indirectly through networks or through their suppliers. And focus on gaining position in the ecosystem, because if you are there, if you're trusted, then it's easier to build business relationship. And this was my final slide. I think we only have our contacts, so I brought Anna Riding, who's our head of industrial digitalization, who will answer any of your questions later on. But now I will hand over to Simon Oswald, who will go into a little bit how to approach the Nordic players. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Linda, for this interesting overview over the Nordic market within smart manufacturing. I would like to build on what we just heard from Lisa and round off the topic with some hints on what foreign suppliers should consider when they decide to enter the market. Some of these points are maybe more specific to the Nordics and some are more universal. Here are these key aspects to consider. I will not go into details into everyone, but let me just point out that there is often, especially the largest companies in the Nordics, they are sometimes using lists of preferred suppliers. These suppliers have in general worked for a long time with the manufacturer and have extensive relationships established. In this case, Austrian manufacturers could choose the strategy to find a supplier of the multinationals and work as a subcontractor for the supplier instead of targeting directly the multinational. Regarding quality, Nordic industries are much associated with high quality end products compared to other regions in the world. This means that the companies are relatively open to switching suppliers if there are machines or components available with better quality. But of course, they are, as everywhere, they are also price sensitive, and this can limit the willingness to transition to a new supplier. So it is, of course, important to outline and present clearly also non-financial aspects of your product portfolio, like quality, flexibility, other kind of opportunities. As Linda already mentioned, reconfigurability is important in some sectors, and that means that the equipment or the machines should be able to accommodate for new customer needs, for new developments in customer demands. Installation and maintenance have become more important during the pandemic. It is recommended to present a clear plan of how delivery, installations, and continuous service would be provided. Local language and presence. Even though Scandinavians generally speak English very well, speaking the local language or having a local presence can be an advantage, especially when talking to SMEs. This means it could sometimes be beneficial, for example, to translate manuals or product information into the local language. And finally, several of the Nordic industries are widely known for their focus on sustainability and sustainable production processes. Of course, there's also a communication dimension in this, but you may quickly discover that sustainability and a low carbon footprint is a hygiene factor to sell products in the Nordic markets. For us at Außenwirtschaft Austria here in the Nordics, smart manufacturing has been an important focus, and it will remain important also in the coming Go International strategic period. As mentioned by Linda, we wrote a report about the topic, smart manufacturing, and basically we heard a summary of it from Linda. As a participant of this webinar, you will receive the written report later, of course. We were also able in this context to make new contacts and expand our network here in Scandinavia. But we are going to push the issue this year and next year as well. We are planning a forum in Linz, Upper Austria. This is a physical event, and there we will shed light on the topic, especially from the energy perspective. This will be probably on the 25th of May. The date has yet to be confirmed. Of course, you will receive the information as soon as the details are clarified. Additionally, we are planning a B2B trade mission in the Nordics. This is a delegation trip for Austrian companies. Late 2023 or early 2024, this is not yet completely clear. The focus will probably be on Sweden and Finland, a little bit less on Denmark and Norway, but the details here as well are not yet 100% defined. Of course, we are not building expertise and a network just for ourselves, but for the Austrian economy, for the Austrian companies. That means we are here available for you in our offices in Stockholm, Helsinki, Oslo, and Copenhagen. We are very happy to help with market information, with legal advice, with our network. So don't hesitate to contact us with specific requests. We are very happy to help you. With these closing remarks, I would like to hand over back to Martin Glotz again.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Simon. I also would like to, Linda and Anna, maybe join this Q&A session after the first part of our webinar. We've received quite a few questions. I've picked some which might be of common interest. The first one, I might just read it here, is how high is the demand for smart manufacturing technologies in the Nordics from abroad? Probably with other words, how self-sufficient are the Nordics when it comes to smart manufacturing technologies? Do they rely on, let's say, imports of technologies from abroad? So this, of course, relates to the potential also for the offer of Austrian companies. Do you have something to say to that, Anna or Linda?
Yeah, I can answer to that. I think the Nordic companies are very open for collaborations in any forms. As has been stated in the reports, there are quality. We are really fond of quality and efficiency, and now also with the energy prices and everything to be more sustainable and efficient. So I think we are looking for good innovations and good technologies from pretty much anywhere. So, and we're also very used to working with other countries. So there's no rule that we need to only use Swedish components or technologies. Of course, we have a really heavy focus on R&D, as we stated, but with that, we use components and technologies from everywhere and combine it. I think that's the future, also to learn how to combine innovations into newer things. So, of course, we are happy to be involved with wherever to create new possibilities.
Thank you. Do you want to add anything to that, Linda? Or is that also the experience you would have?
Yeah, I think that Anna said it all really. That we've seen that there is quite a lot of smart manufacturing in the Nordics, but also a willingness to collaborate externally to find the right quality, the right competence. So definitely, I agree.
Right. Thank you. Another question, maybe somehow related, is how high is the potential in the smart manufacturing sector for cooperation in third markets? I think in concreto that means Austrian companies cooperating with Swedish companies on markets outside Austria and Sweden. Certainly, Sweden has a lot of large companies, other Nordic countries equally. And I've seen examples anyway of Austrian companies cooperating with Nordic companies in markets even outside the European Union. Is that also something you would underline? Is there is potential? I mean, you have those big players, of course, they are globally active. So we do not just look at the Nordic market, but also maybe at a global market as far as the cooperation potential is concerned. Is that an observation which you would confirm? Anna, maybe you have your overview, don't you?
Yeah, I would confirm that. As you say, a lot of R&D work and stuff are done in the Nordic countries, but then of course it's transferred and used in the whole world when when it follows the companies out in the world. And also they have R&D centers all over that take part of, so it works together. So of course, it's when you get into the Nordic countries, you have a big opportunity to also grow outside. I would confirm that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, it's also my experience. We've seen quite a few cases actually where Austrian companies and Nordic companies were cooperating in Eastern, Southeastern Europe, where Austrian companies traditionally have been very strong, you know, and then in other markets where maybe Nordic companies have more of a footprint, it was sort of Austrian companies backpacking on Nordic companies. So it seems to work quite well. So I think the recommendation to our companies, to our participants, is also look at the global picture when it comes to cooperation with Nordic companies in the field of smart manufacturing. And there is a third question which I would like to ask, and then maybe finish with the Q&A session of this part, is the potential for digital, for smart manufacturing solutions, of course, also depends on the availability of digital skills among the workforce. And in Austria, we certainly have a discussion at the moment that maybe not enough skilled labor is available. So it's not so much the demand from the market which limits the manufacturing capabilities, but it's also the shortage of skilled labor. Is it also something, Anna or Linda, that limits the industry here in the north?
Yeah, I would say it is. As you described, there are a lot of things going on. The pace for the development of both new products and everything is very fast right now. So I would say that there is not enough skilled people to be able to respond to the demand that could be right now. No, it's the same situation here. So.
Yeah, and just another, I think that this is true everywhere, that we are also just in general in this transition from sort of digital natives but they are not really in the working force yet. So I think that everyone stands for in several industries. We are in that challenge that hopefully will then shift when the digital sort of natives actually become the majority of the workforce.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, I think when it comes to the digital things, it's not only the technologies that is affected in this. It's the way we are working. It's the way we purchase things. It's everything within the company. So it's a huge transition, and that also needs more of skilled people that are used to working with that could be part of that transition and lead that transition. And I think there is also where we lack people that have enough experience to take charge and lead that. So that's also something that is stopping.
Thank you. I think we leave it as far as questions are concerned. We have to move on. I just want to mention again what Simon had said, that of course the report we did not just write together, but we worked on over the past few months. I think a very good report will be made available to all of you participating in this webinar. And of course, it contains much more information that we were able to relate to you during this very short part one. But thank you, Anna, thank you, Linda, not just for participating in this webinar, but also for the excellent cooperation we've had in the last few months. And we're looking forward to more joint action for the benefit of the economies of our two regions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now moving to part two. As I had announced, we are now looking more closely at a particular industry, and this is the aviation industry. Combitech, represented by Michael Blomqvist, is an independent technical consulting company. It's part of the Saab group of companies. Saab, of course, as you know, is one of the leading defense and security groups worldwide. Combitech, and I'm sure that Michael, you will elaborate a bit more on that, is a company that offers skills and concepts to clients operating in the manufacturing sector, in the service industry, but also in the public sector, and of course in defense. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, so I will present an initiative within the aero structure industry. Just starting with a few words from the company, and in this case, start with the Saab Group, which I
guess many are familiar with, which is mainly a defense industry consortium. Includes everything from weapons, fighter system, underwater sensors, etc. Latest figures, so the Saab group in total is around 19,000 employees worldwide, with of course a majority within Sweden at the moment, even though the share of international awareness or localization in other parts of the world is part of the strategy. Myself is employed by Combitech, which is a fully owned independent company within the Saab group, with around 2,000 employees, working mainly in Sweden, but we also have presence in the other Nordic countries, or mainly Norway and Finland in this case. So our services covers pretty much everything when it comes to the defense industry, of course, with our Saab legacy, but also very strong in related cybersecurity, communications, etc. And the case I will present now is from the aerospace industry, and this is part of the Saab aerospace system business unit, which is more or less a subcontractor for the big companies like Airbus, Boeing, providing parts for their mainly civil aircrafts. But we also work with the T7, which is a training system where we partner with Boeing for the US Air Force. So the Industry 4 program launched in the aerospace system was started some 3 years back, where from a business perspective, we see that it's a highly competitive market. And in order to win more contracts or new customers, we needed to do something in terms of digitalization and Industry 4. So with the expectations to win new contracts, reduce our costs, increase productivity and flexibility, and at the same time keep and also attract new talents to the business. We launched a project, as I said, some 2-3 years ago, where we more or less see, with the pre-study we did, we see that we need to increase our productivity, reduce, as I said, cost, time per unit. And this program was launched more or less across the board. So for the entire product life cycle, from engineering, R&D to the supply chain, and also to some extent to the aftermarket and service. And you already touched that in the earlier with the challenges of finding skilled people. We formed a project, a partnership. Fine, it's within the same group, but it's a strategic project where we combine Saab and Combitech expertise into the project with a mixed steering committee for the entire program. I am the PMO for the entire program, and we run different projects, either joint with combined forces, or in some cases we deliver projects to Saab, and in some cases we have projects that is run, let's say, on-prem by Saab employees only. And all this in order to ensure that we have a good progress and don't have a shortage in expertise in different areas where we operate and try to improve the business. Just skip that. What we did together was we started more or less from a white piece of paper, overlooking the existing strategies, the roadmaps, and looked how will the digital transformation Industry 4 actually change our strategies and roadmaps. So we redefined the roadmap and strategy, and then we started with small projects, proof of concepts and pilot projects, where we constantly reevaluate. If they are successful, we implement and try to scale the project to other parts of the business as well. And constantly working our way through the different defined projects we have, which is a journey. And as you see, we have foreseen that this transformation will take some 6, 7, maybe even 8 years before we are where we want to be as a business. If we then look a little bit into the details, what we are actually working with or have been working with. So first of all, a big challenge was the enabling infrastructures, connectivity on the shop floor, the possibility to actually collect the data. So we have worked with private network, which is in this case a 4G network that work in the same way as a mobile network, but it's fully maintained by the Saab group in this case and completely blocked for others. We have worked on IoT platforms to enable data capturing, big data, analytics, etc. And then we have had various projects with material trackings, autonomous robots, scheduling systems, machine performance. I think that was also mentioned before that downtime is something we really need to avoid, and we need to increase our capacity in the machines. So machine performance monitoring, moving into more and more predictive and condition-based maintenance to ensure we reduce our downtime to a minimum. And more or less on a quarterly basis, we continuously reevaluate what we're doing, what are the results, what new use cases or projects should we start. For instance, we are currently looking at manufacturing execution systems for the workshop. And also how to scale the different solutions we have implemented. That was also mentioned a couple of times before, that scalability is something that we are constantly evaluated on in terms of our solutions. Can they be scaled to other parts of the Saab group in order to minimize cost and also to harmonize the overall software landscape in the group. So I think that was a short introduction to one of the projects within the Saab group. As I said, this is for the aerospace systems and the civilian aircrafts. There are, of course, a lot of other projects within Saab where we try to cooperate in some cases, and in other cases, due to military restrictions or whatever, we are forced to choose different solutions for different parts of the business. So by that, let's say thank you.
Well, we say thank you, Michael. Thank you for giving us a short insight into what smart manufacturing means for the Saab group, especially, of course, for the offering of Combitech. We have been working with Combitech actually on cyber security solutions. We had just before Christmas actually a round table, and we're very happy that you participated in Vienna at the time. So as I said, there are many applications, of course. There are a few questions. Some maybe are just people asking how can we get into the Saab sphere, as it were. How can we initiate a cooperation? Do you have something like a preferred supplier program? If yes, how would it work? How does one get in touch with you?
Yeah, so for the Saab group, they are like any other of the big companies in the Nordic. They have preferred suppliers, absolutely. The role of Combitech within the Saab group is more providing both the inside out and outside in perspective, meaning to how can we use the technologies developed within the defense industry on the let's say public market and vice versa. So from a Combitech perspective, we more or less constantly reevaluate our own competences and try to partner up with different companies to ensure that we have a complete portfolio of competences for this Industry 4 transformation or smart manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you would look at companies who approach you and said, look, this is something for us. So do you have sort of, do you post on a website or somewhere else sort of things, solutions, technologies you're looking for?
At the moment, no, we don't.
All right, okay, good. Excellent. Thank you, Matt. I think we move on. Again, I encourage you to post questions in the chat. We're moving on now to the third part of our webinar, which is an introduction into the world of flexible production of hygienic products. Very happy to have Risto here. Morning, Risto. Risto's joining us from Finland. From a Sharp Cell. I'm sure, Risto, you will say a few words about a Sharp Cell. As you know, Sharp Cell produces biodegradable, if they call it air-laid paper, and I'm sure you'll explain what air-laid means. I think the application is usually in sort of wiping and hygiene applications. And of course, it involves a lot of manufacturing challenges, and smart solutions are certainly also in demand. Maybe without any further delay, Risto, you will take the floor now and lead us into the world of hygienic paper solutions.
Thank you, Martin. Yes, my name is Risto Pollari. I'm heading, as said, business development in our company. I will tell you shortly what is air-laid non-woven and what's related on that, what kind of products is made out of that material. First, something about our company. We are founded in October 2012, and we are located in southern Finland, not so far away from Helsinki, about 1.5 hours by car. Our production capacity is around 12,000 tons of air-laid non-woven. of grammages, normally what we produce, are between 50 and 60 GSM, grams per square meter. Typical application segments are different kind of wiping, medical wiping applications, and technical wiping applications, and of course private homes. Tabletop is a big sector. Napkins, tablecloths, related on that. Feminine hygiene is one big area also of this material usage. Our business area is global. However, most of the customers and partners, suppliers, they are from European region. We are the only airlaid nonwoven producer in Finland and family company. I'm one of those family members. The structure of the company, Sharpcell is owned by mother company Hypap Oy, which is located in Tampere region and converting hygienic paper products. 10% of Sharpcell paper production is converted in Hypap Oy. Last year we had overall turnover about 37 million euro, and our headcount was about 85 people. We have also Redico Software, which is a small IT company, part of our concern, making manufacturing execution systems. We are using that in our companies, and we have also some external companies, our customers, for controlling and managing production and resources, material and immaterial resources. But today we are concentrating on Sharpcell. Airlaid nonwoven is called nonwoven because of the tradition. However, most of the raw material composition is cellulose, fluff pulp, which is further developed cellulose. And then the other component is there a binder. I will tell you shortly what does it mean. Segments where this material is used is quite typically hygienic applications where it's in contact with skin. For example, tabletop, as I already mentioned, hospitals, medical care, different kind of protection products, protection sheets. Sometimes it is laminated with water block film, and different kind of wiping applications, as I already told you. Then some new segments where it has started to be used and it's in commercialization phase ongoing is agricultural application. I will tell you also about that later a little bit more. Protection of your abrasive products, for example, glass plates. Instead of using bubble plastic or foam plastic, you can use airlaid nonwoven layer between the plates, or some other brittle components. And then also a third new segment is a filter material, where traditionally fossil-based materials are used, but now more and more there has been a request and innovations and tests to use this kind of sustainable material in those applications. Why airlaid nonwoven? I'm sorry, the headline has jumped down for some reason. I don't know why. The reason why airlaid nonwoven is used is normally it doesn't cause any dust or lint. It's very neutral, doesn't cause any skin irritation. It's good for food contact, and also it has a high liquid absorbance to the raw material fluff pulp, which is cellulose. It has the strength properties and printability, and here are some pictures some typical applications where it has been used in past years, and how our customers, converters, are converting products for. In our business, which is mainly export to European region, it's important to have a certificate which is proving your functionalities and a certain quality level for your customers and your interest groups. Of course, ISO and FSC and PFC, we only use certified raw materials, and also you need to have a certificate, for example, food contact or skin irritation tests. And more and more these days, sustainability plays a big role in our customer base. For that, we have received and applied certificates for Nordic Swan, so the material can be used for those products. This is biodegradable, and we have also version which is 100% bio-based and recyclable and compostable. About the production, which is very important role in our business. Airlaid production is according to its name. It's not with the water process as typically most of the board and paper processes are with water. But this is unique. We have only air and fibers, how we combine the web, and then binder which cross-linking the strength for the web. We are working otherwise in the same way as any paper mill, continuously, and we have raw materials and energy what we need for the production, and of course, very important thing in production is to have a good control system, to control the system and the sensor the elements down in the process to meet the customer properties in our product. To keep in our business, our company in business and competitive in the future, and today we have invested and we are investing quite much money for innovations and continuous development. Some examples are cooperation with 2 Swedish companies. We had a 2 years R&D project to develop a 100% biodegradable and bio-based version of our non-woven, and right now we are commercialization phase of that version of our product. So our partners in Sweden get the support from Vinnova in Sweden, and then we get the sister organization Business Finland support for those innovations. And then we have another INSOL project which is more related on analyzing the web online with advanced digital technology, how the formation happens with the air forming, which is very challenging. This is still continuous projects ongoing. We have several other projects ongoing, and I can tell that in the past years we have invested as an investment wise over 1 million euro for R&D, and top of that comes all the time and effort for all the organization who has been involved together with our partners. One example of new application is agricultural application for fresh cuts products, where controlling weeds, block the weeds in farming, for example, salads, using a special recipe of our airlaid non-woven material and laying that in the top of the bench and placing seats top of the layer of this growth base airlaid non-woven and putting a thin layer of tissue top of that, and then introducing some water. By this technique, we have avoided to use any chemicals against weeds. This has been tested as a proof of concept since past year, and now it has been already promoted in 2 exhibitions in Europe and also rewarded 1 agricultural exhibition, and it's in a commercialization phase. By this system, we are bringing more efficiency for agricultural farming, avoiding harmful chemicals, and reducing energy use and water usage in farming. And this technique also enables to apply organic status for the products for the farmer. This is one example where the material can be used, and hopefully more in the future. The second thing was I mentioned already, that plates protection for products, for example, glass plates or other type of plates, or sheet metals, furnitures, automotive parts, replace plastic components. This is ongoing project, and we are sure that we will find also from Austria cooperation companies to work with. About airlaid non-woven outlook, how the business looks. It's a growing consumption of this material. The Smithers is organization, international organization, who makes this kind of analysis for the future of this material, and it's recently predicted for next 5 years annual growth of 6%, which is giving good space for innovations and players in the market. And of course, we have this SUP directive in European Union region, which is boosting this kind of thing, that new application comes, as I just showed you, where plastics want to be replaced as much as possible. For this growth and continuous improvements and applying new applications, we need already today, we need several partners for raw materials, for services, for laboratory services, technical components for our production line, and we're doing that continuously, and we are doing purchases several European countries already today. So we are very used to work with different companies from different countries. We cannot find everything from Finland, or even not from Nordic countries. As a summary of what we are, is we are developing and growing family company. We have our strength to be dynamic and fast in decision making, and our values are based on sustainable future for all of us. We are targeting a superior quality, and for that you maybe can help us to meet future requirements. So this was shortly about us, about SharpCell. You can find more information from our web pages, and I'm happy to answer questions if anything exists.
Thank you very much, Risto, for this insight into a very specific sector of manufacturing. There were a few questions related actually to to the relationship between sustainability, and you stressed it again and again during your presentation, how important it is, especially I think in the forest and in the paper industry, and digital manufacturing. Probably one could summarize those questions I've received in this respect as how would you evaluate the relationship between digitalization of your manufacturing processes and sustainability?
Well, one link is very clear, that we use a binder. Traditionally, the binder has been EVA-based, EVA binder, which is fossil-based binder in production. And now we are replacing that with the biobinder. It gives certain challenges and requires better control of the process and the web to meet the customer requirements, which means that you need to control the process, you need to follow the process, and to be able to see the process details more detailedly. And you need to observe online better and better that what's happening if you do changes in a production line. And for that, digitalization, sensoring, analyzing system, SQL system, where you build relationship between different things. That if your setup is built in a certain way, what properties you are able to build, how you can improve certain properties in your production, what elements in a process are improving, and which are directing that in an opposite direction. For example, this is very, very important, and we are actually doing the digitization more and more for our process and investing on that side.
Excellent. A very good example, yes. And as you said before, it also opens the potential for cooperation, hopefully also with companies from Austria. Another question, again, related to sustainability, a bit more concrete, is how present is the corporate sustainability reporting directive in the Nordics with regards to reporting requirements? Can you say something on that? Are you familiar with that?
Well, yes, we have. In Finland, they are quite strict on permission to produce something. And for example, we have an environmental permit from authorities, Finnish authorities, and for that we need to report annually what consumptions we are, how much we produce, what are the discharges what we produce, how is the waste or side stream used, and there is a demand to find a third party to use the side stream materials. So this is very, very important these days, and start to be more and more strict. For example, chemical usage report need to be reported every year.
Well, thank you, Risto. All right, I think let me just look whether any other questions have been received. I think no, we have more or less tackled most of them. Thank you, Risto, for your presentation. Equally, a big thank you to all our other presenters, to Linda, to Anna, Simon, of course, to Michael. And I think it was quite a good overview, and I hope it has given you a few hints as to where the potential for your products, for your solutions related to smart manufacturing here in the Nordics are. We will make available a recorded version of this webinar on YouTube. You will receive a link to that YouTube video in an email, which we'll send as a follow-up to this webinar. Equally, you will receive a whole set of the presentations of this PowerPoint presentation, and as we had announced before, also the full report on smart manufacturing in the Nordics. If you have any questions, you can always approach us or any of the speakers of today. I would also be very happy if you took advantage of all the other activities we are offering in the field of smart manufacturing. As Simon had mentioned, we are now preparing for a forum in Austria, in Linz, at the end of May. The date, still to be confirmed, is the 25th of May, where we will again talk on smart manufacturing and touch in particular the aspects of energy efficiency and cyber security, two aspects which I think are of very high importance, especially now at these times, to the manufacturing industry. That leads me to the end of this webinar. Thank you for participating, and as I said, I would love to see you again on one of the other occasions which we have prepared, events, reports, or even, of course, your individual requests are always more than welcome. For me, Martin Kjotz, it's thank you and goodbye.